So everybody knows the TV series Dopesick, right? And I watched that from beginning to end on Hulu. And I love how Hulu does the weekly releases. So I remember when it came out, they would release the new episodes every Wednesday, I think. And yeah, I was dedicated, devoted to that TV schedule, okay? And I was surprised how Michael Keaton, his performance was just masterful. And I don't know if I'm too familiar with him as an actor. I don't know what he's done before that. I know he was in one of those like superhero movies or something like that. But I don't know too much of his work. So when I saw him in this, I was not surprised, but I feel like these days actors have to go through some kind of dramatic physical transformation in order to get attention for their acting talent, because it's like it for a while it seemed like if you weren't losing, staggering amounts of weight or gaining weight or something, they weren't really talking about your performance. Like they weren't noticing the performance unless it was like, oh, he lost 80 pounds to become such and such, and it's just like, okay. But Michael Keaton he came across as a real person, and I could see that person in my neighborhood. He was just very authentic, but he blended in to the role. It was like, I don't know how else to say, but he did a great job. And then I think he's one of the 14 Emmy nominations that they received for that series, Dopesick, which Rosario Dawson did a great job as well. Who else was in it? I mean, there were a lot of great performances. The young girl, I can't think of the actress name, but the young girl who was Michael Keaton's patient, she was really great. And yeah, I can't think of the other names, but the entire cast did a great job. Great job on Dopesick. And so after the show finished, I just wasn't ready to let go of that. So then, of course, I read the book, Empire of Pain, because I think this came out, even though the book that is based on, I didn't read the book that it was based on. I don't know why, but I just chose to pick this book up. And this book, this came out last year. So it came out right around the time that Dopesick came out. And I guess that's why they were really promoting this book heavily. So I picked it up, and it really is a great book. Although this book, author Patrick Radden Keefe, he focuses more on the Sackler family and their history. I forgot where the father came from. I'm not going to say, but he emigrated from another country to America and brought his family with him, or did we'll just say he brought his family with him. And I think he had a brother. Him and his brother, they had like small businesses in New York. And then the Great Depression happened and they lost everything. And at that time, he had 3 sons. The oldest son is the one who started the Oxycontin medication and all of that stuff. And the older son in high school developed a business acumen, I guess, from watching what his father does and stuff like that. But he became very business savvy, and he was like the editor of his high school paper, and he was making money that way. And he basically became the man of the house and was taking care of his family because his father had lost everything. And he put himself through college. He also put his two younger brothers through college. And he started I don't know if it was a marketing or an advertising business, but something. And that's kind of how he made his entry into the medical field, because it started with advertising at first. He would do the advertisements for different painkillers, and then eventually he went into the Oxycontin business. But this book is very fascinating. The story about the Sackler family, their rise and fall again. But yeah, so I read this book, Empire of Pain, and I never got around to reading Dopesick. And then when I saw that the TV series had just been nominated, I think I read for 14 Emmy nominations, I said, let me give this book a read so I'll know, since it is the source of the series. And author Beth Macy, she seems to focus on Baltimore, West Virginia, and Virginia, those areas. And the book is more so about the victims of opioid addiction and also about how it destroyed a lot of good neighborhoods, Whereas this Empire of Pain is more about the entire family, and then more the business side of it. So I would say that's the difference between the two books if you're interested in reading either one. Dopesick is more about the individual addicts and their stories and how it affected the families and the communities. And in Dopesick, Beth Macy, she did a good job of telling the stories and doing the research. It sounds like she worked with families, because she was telling stories of certain victims, but she was also talking to the victims' families, like their mothers and their fathers. And it's quite sad to see how far this epidemic got before government intervention took place. But yeah, although I will say Dopesick is a much shorter book than Empire of Pain. And I'm not sure why people seem to like Empire of Pain. It feels like to me people like Empire of Pain more than Dopesick, because I like the reviews and in the bookish communities, they seem to be talking about Empire of Pain more than Dopesick. But Dopesick is a much shorter read, although it is, because it's focusing on the victims and the families and the communities, I would say it's a heavy read, because it's hard to listen or read however you read it, whether it's an audio book or a physical ebook, whatever. But it's hard to take in that information, because you see what it's doing to the people and their families, etc. So it's a bit harder to read, but it's a good book. Although I wish Beth Macy would have gone further into the penal system and reforming that system, because she brought up how the drug addicts, when they would get caught, they would be sent to jail, and some of them would be turned into informants, in order to lessen their sentence or what have you. And I wish she would have explored why the government doesn't want to do anything about reforming the penal system because it's obviously not working. But she hinted at how it has become the new factory because they are having the inmates do that type of work for, pennies. So she implied that that might have something to do with why they like sending drug addicts to jail, even though it in no way helps them. And then she also talked about how the communities, how they didn't want rehabilitation centers in their community and how it's, in my opinion, it has become, how do I say it? Those rehabilitation centers, I mean, some of them are good and some of them are not, but she talks about how some of them, they're not quite addressing the root of the problem. So it's just kind of, I mean, a lot of the addicts, they relapse and stuff like that. And it takes them years to actually become completely clean. But I would have been more interested in that as well. I know that would have made it a longer book, but I would have been more interested in her talking about how they prosecute drug addicts and drug dealers, and also the rehabilitation industry, I'll say. Are they helping? I don't know. And it was sad to hear how, certain people, I guess the people who aren't addicts, some of them came across as unsympathetic, because they hadn't been in the situation, it's hard for them to empathize with people who are struggling with drug addiction, and they just came off a bit rigid as far as the government and the families of those victims wanting to provide help and resources, but certain people not wanting to have that in the community because, it's not a good look, and we understand that, but they just came across as not at all considerate of the desperate help that these people need, But overall, I'm glad I read that book, and I would recommend it. So I would give it a read. And yeah, those are my thoughts. I'm going to wrap this up. But if you like this video, give it a like and comment. Let me know if you read either book, Empire of Pain or Dopesick, or if you watched the television series. Let me know that. And I will catch you guys in the next one, okay? Please consider subscribing. I upload every week, usually book, film, or music related. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.